Why does this film from 1995 look better than Marvel films do now? Hey, what's going on, guys? I am Jeff Porter from Cinema Reactor. Today, we're going to talk about the 1995 film Goldeneye, which saw Pierce Brosnan's first kind of foray, which saw Pierce Brosnan's first time as James Bond, as well as introducing Martin Campbell to the franchise that he would later come back to, but we'll get to that later. So, in this film, Pierce Brosnan, of course, plays James Bond, and a space-based weapons program called Goldeneye is taken by some Russians, bad Russians. Famke Jensen, Sean Bean is in there, and he has to, of course, go and save the world. Now, this might be one of the best films of the 90s. I know growing up in the 90s, we got these awesome movies. They came with video games. GoldenEye on the 64 is probably one of the best N64 games that always gets talked about. I have it upstairs right now. I still play it. There's just something about how they used to do movies and video game tie-ins, and we don't really see that a lot anymore, and I don't know why. You look at like some of the new Marvel stuff, and we get Marvel Avengers and games like that, and there's some Spider-Man games, but it's not like a movie tie-in. It doesn't quite hit the same. However, so like I was saying, this is Martin Campbell's kind of first introduction into the James Bond franchise. What's really interesting is he would come in, he would make the first film for Pierce Brosnan with GoldenEye, and then he would dip. And this is this is the best Pierce Brosnan James Bond film that there is. It doesn't get better. Pierce Brosnan did 4 James Bond films, and they each progressively got kind of worse. By 2002, it was just kind of a joke, but they, 3 years later, they came back, and Martin Campbell came back, and that's what I was talking about with 2005's Casino Royale. Martin Campbell came back in, and again, probably did the best Daniel Craig James Bond film. That's not taking anything away from Skyfall, No Time to Die. Both are fantastic. Spectre, still great. But Martin Campbell has this unique ability to introduce us to these new James Bond roles, and then he just dips, and I don't understand why. Like, why not just stay on with the franchise? I'm sure he's probably said something about it, but imagine if he had stuck around for the other 3 Pierce Brosnan films. Imagine if he had stuck on for, what's the other one? What's the one after Casino Royale? Quantum of Solace. Imagine if he had stuck around. Like, maybe you wouldn't have those kind of sophomore slumps that you see. So GoldenEye, like I said, 1995, it was supposed to be a continuation. We were supposed to see Timothy Dalton again. We were introduced to Pierce Brosnan, and Timothy Dalton has 2 decent films, but they're no Pierce Brosnan. I think Pierce Brosnan kind of personifies James Bond. He is like Hugh Jackman to Wolverine, or Daniel Radcliffe to Harry Potter. He is James Bond. Of course, that's my generation. Sean Connery is James Bond. Roger Moore is James Bond. But I think it kind of defined Pierce Brosnan's career in a way that now, even when he's in Black Adam as Dr. Fate, you're still like, oh, there's James Bond. I feel like Sean Connery probably did enough work in his life. We still know him as James Bond, but I don't think it kind of defined his career as much as it did. Maybe I'm wrong. So in the actual film, though, everybody is absolutely perfect. Pierce Brosnan is obviously perfectly cast as James Bond. You have Sean Bean, who comes in as like an ally, another 00 agent who ends up crossing, going with the Russians. You have Famke Jensen, who plays the bad Russian person. You have Jim Cumming, who is like Nightcrawler and Spy Kids. He's in there. There's just a bunch of great actors in this film, and everybody does such a great job. Judi Dench, nobody really turns in a bad performance, and I think that's because it's such a well-directed film. Like, I was jumping back to Martin Campbell. Martin Campbell is absolutely fantastic. I wish he had stuck around. So the big thing I have, though, is why does this film from 1995 look better than Marvel films do now? What happened? I mean, you've got practical explosions. You do have some green screen. There is some green screen now that maybe didn't age the best. It's no worse than Black Widow or anything else that we've seen recently. So it's kind of amazing that apparently green screen technology was introduced. It kind of peaked in like 2008, and then we just saw a slow decline back down again to now we're back in 1995. When you take away those green screen shots, this film is beautiful. Like I said, practical effects, practical explosions, they're actually going to places, they're at locations. And when you watch that opening sequence where they break in to the weapons facility, the first level in the game, Sean Bean gets, you think, killed. Just him, Pierce Brosnan, running out of the facility, chasing after the plane, getting into the plane, falling back out of the plane, jumping on a motorcycle, jumping off the cliff, getting into the plane, and then pulling up at the last second. If that's not an intro to a film, I don't know what the hell is, because that is one of the greatest intros, not only in just film, but in the the Goldeneye franchise, the James Bond franchise. And then of course you have the incredible song Tina Turner, Goldeneye, written by YouTube. It just seems like everything kind of came together for this one perfect film. You have the direction, which was incredible. You have the Pierce Brosnan performance. You have the practical effects. You have the practical explosions. You have a little bit of green screen, but you have all the locations. You have Sean Bean turning in an awesome performance. You have them going to actual locations, like I said. Everything just kind of culminates into this perfect 1995 film, and Goldeneye really does stand out above the rest of the franchise, I think. When you look back, you have some classics with Sean Connery and everything, but I feel like Goldeneye just kind of escalated it to kind of this new dimension. And I understand it's probably just my generation talking, but I really do feel like that might be true. I just kind of happened to come back across Goldeneye while scrolling through Amazon Prime, trying to find a movie to watch, and Goldeneye was there. It had been probably a couple of years since I last saw it, and I turned it on. And it's a over 2 hour movie, and before I knew it, I was sitting there watching the entire thing. When I just meant to kind of turn something on in the background, and then of course I got sucked in. After watching Goldeneye, I was so jacked up, and all the stunts and everything that they've created in this film, and how it looks better than films being released today was just absolutely insane to me. So definitely go back. It's 2022 now. Goldeneye is still worth watching. It's over 2 decades old and it still stands up. And of course, you get the iconic scene at the end of Pierce Brosnan dropping Sean Beam and then the satellite falling down and crushing him. It's just, there's so much in this film. If it's been a while since you've watched Goldeneye, if you're coming off of that No Time to Die kind of feeling, go back, watch this. It's a lot of fun, and it definitely kind of gets you jacked up for like a new James Bond now that we're kind of out on the search again, seeing who's going to fill that suit, and it's really exciting thinking about the future, but I just don't think, I mean, how can it get better than what we've already seen? We've seen Moonraker, we've seen Goldeneye, we've seen Casino Royale. What's most interesting to me is I wonder if Martin Campbell will come back and do another intro to the new James Bond, because I think he absolutely knocks it out of the park with every Bond film that he's done, and it just doesn't get better than this. So that is our quick review of 1995's Goldeneye. Be sure to check back next week for our next film. Thank you guys for watching.